In this project we have a kitchen with wooden cabinets, which had been stained about 15 years ago and had a design in adhesive plastic attached to them. The most efficient way to handle the job is to remove all of the doors and drawers from the frame. Mark each one with a number to fit it into the same place when you replace the doors. A cordless screwdriver makes removal quite easy. Getting the wooden surface clean and smooth is vital to a good finish. I've chosen a 4-inch blade scraper to remove the adhesive plastic, and in this case water is an effective solvent to remove the excessive adhesive residue. Let it dissolve the adhesive for a couple of minutes and it scrapes off quite easily. I'll use 100 grit sandpaper fitted into a sanding block to rough up the cabinet frame. As it's been previously stained and the stain has sealed the pores of the wood, the first layer of paint will not be able to sink into the wood. The sandpaper will create a rough surface for the paint to adhere to. I'm using a grey primer as a base coat. Primer sticks to almost any surface and also has a Velcro-like attraction to the top coat. If a top coat is applied directly to the wooden surface, it will not adhere properly and you'll have problems. I'm using a 1.5-inch cut brush and a 4-inch roller to apply the primer. To do the flat surfaces, the 4-inch trim roller is perfect. This one has a 1/4-inch nap, which is the thickness of the fur on the roller, and covers quickly and with a smooth finish. Professional painters almost never use painter's tape to cover straight edges. Painter's tape is expensive and very time-consuming to apply. People often wonder how to get a straight line without using tape. Well, the secret is in the brush that you use. This cut brush has an angled edge that allows you to stroke across a straight edge with great control. This particular brush is one of my favorites. It's made by Rubbermaid and costs about $4 at Walmart. Nice and cheap, and it does the job very well. Out on the deck I've stacked the doors and will run over each surface, once again with 100 grit sandpaper fitted into a finishing sander. This is a light sanding, not done to expose raw wood, but just to roughen the surface to give the primer something to grip onto. After a couple of hours the primer on the frame is dry and I'll apply the top coat. Once again the 1.5-inch cut brush is perfect to use on the edges, and the trim roller makes short work of the flat surfaces. It doesn't really matter if you use a low nap refill or one that is thicker. The secret is not to try to put too much paint onto the surface. If the application is too thick, the paint will run and the finish will be unsightly. 2 top coats are standard procedure for any painting job, so keep your first coat quite thin. While the cabinet frame is drying, I'll begin the primer coat on the doors using an 8-inch thin roller. This width of roller covers quickly and gives me the smooth finish that I require. I'm using a water-based latex primer, which prices at about $25 with my contractor's discount, and about $33 a gallon without a discount. Once the doors are done, I'll do the front of the drawers in exactly the same way. With the primer on the doors having dried, I'll apply the first top coat using a new refill for the same sized roller. The refills cost about $2 each, and so are cheap enough to dispose of after each coat. With about 20 doors and 5 drawer fronts to paint, I've run out of room, so I've used the drawers to support some of the doors, and I'll cover the front of each drawer as I pass by. Although it may not look like it, we're close to finishing the job. A second coat can be applied after 2 hours and left overnight to harden. In the morning, I'll refit the hinges to the doors and begin to place them back into position according to the numbers that I marked on them earlier. The drawers can be slid back into position and the bottom doors fitted to finish the job. Go over the cabinets and check for flaws, such as chipped edges caused during fitting, or other problems that can usually be fixed with a layer of paint. Well, we started off with this in the kitchen and ended up with this finish. So let's recap on what we did. Firstly, we took off the doors and drawers. Then we roughened the wooden surfaces using 100 grit sandpaper. Next we applied a coat of primer. We applied 2 top coats of paint. And once the paint was dry, we replaced the doors and drawers. The paint and materials cost about $85, and the house value has increased by about $2,000. Not bad for 8 hours work.